Welcome, everyone, to this week's new episode of Project Tech Gaming. I'm your host, Rob Garcia, and joining me today is co-host Kelvin Rolon.
What's up, guys?
How you doing today, Kelv?
Doing well. I'm excited today. Today's a hefty episode.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this crazy week with all the game stonks and all that stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
So, on that note, today's topics, we're talking about the Medium reviews, developers on promising release dates, game stonks, Tesla's new Model S, and Bose sunglasses.
Ooh.
But first, let's start with our play of the week. Kelvin, what new game did you try this week?
All right, so I tried a game called the Medium. This game just came out today on Xbox Series X and S and on PC. So you can probably get that on Game Pass, definitely on Game Pass, and on Steam as well. This game is interesting to say the least. It's a third-person psychological horror game. Essentially, you're taking control of a woman named Marianne, who's a medium, and she can basically talk to spirits. And the interesting part about her is that she can travel between two worlds, between the real world and the actual spiritual realm, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's developed by Blooper Team, the guys that made the Blair Witch Project back in 2019. I don't know if you've played that game or if you had any takes on that game before.
I've heard of the game before. I've heard of Blair Witch Project. I've never played that game.
Right.
Again,
I don't think a lot of people have, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really play scary games in general.
Right.
But I've definitely heard of it, and I haven't heard anything about it as far as like people playing it, but I've heard of the name before.
So
for sure.
These guys aren't strangers to horror games. They they know it pretty well. And this game was actually announced back in 2012, I think it was, for last gen consoles, and it was it kind of went under the radar for a while, and then it got re-announced back in December in 2020 for release date for January 28th. So it kind of came back into everyone's radar, and now it's here, which is it's pretty cool. It's like one of the first Xbox like Series X major titles. Obviously it's on a Game Pass, which is pretty cool, and it's downloaded right now. So I played about an hour and a half of it. I had to kind of play as much as I could, mostly because it came out today at 11 o'clock in the morning. So I went to work, came back.
So let's talk about that. So you're waiting at midnight to play the game.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
So me and Rob were kind of online working on some stuff, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna wait till midnight, start up the game, kind of get as much as I can in the middle of the night, and then sure enough, it's already pre-downloaded on my computer, and sure enough, as soon as I try to hit play, it's saying that you're too early to play the game. You gotta wait. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like 12:10 or 12:10 or something like that, right? So I look a little bit closer, and it says that this game is available at 11 o'clock in the morning. I was like, what? Like, who does that shit? Like, why? So
that was so random.
It's just random because no one, like, who does that? Who announced? Who, like, you don't, even on like PlayStation Store, even on Xbox Live, you just download a game and then you pre-download it and then you can just play it at midnight, right? Like, that's essentially what you would normally do. So,
yeah, it's usually, it just unlocks it and then you just basically, because you preloaded it, right?
Exactly. It was in my system. It was in my hard drive, so I was ready to go. So that kind of like, backtracked a little bit. So I had to kind of rush home as soon as I got out of work and just kind of start playing. But from what I've played, I'm going to just say I'm enjoying it. I like it a lot. This is a game that if you are into the old school Resident Evil games, it's like the old school Resident Evil had a baby with Silent Hill and Dino Crisis.
No, thank you. I'm good. That's a pass for me.
So, but think about that. Because back in the 90s, right? So this game is set in the 90s, which, just to let you guys know.
That's actually kind of cool. All right.
It's set in the 90s in Poland. So, and I just got that based off of like the names and a lot of like Polish names and stuff like that. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. It kind of hurts it, but at the same time, it's actually beneficial in that aspect where it's, like I said, it has that Resident Evil, old school Resident Evil vibe, mostly because of the tanky controls. It's very tanky. So it's a third person, third person game. However, your kind of tank controls remind you of old school Resident Evil, old school Dino Crisis, old school Silent Hill. Some people hate that. Some people like that. I don't mind it as much, but it definitely ages the game, especially it being a brand new Xbox title, right? But it didn't really affect my gameplay. What really affects your gameplay, again, and this can hurt it or it can actually benefit it, is the actual, what is it called? When the camera is fixed, like it's like a fixed camera.
Yeah, a fixed camera angle. Yeah, it's just angles.
So it's just angles, right? It benefits it in a way because it keeps that immersion when you're playing the game. So you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know what's like right next to you because you're only fixed on that particular angle at the moment. So it's cool in that aspect because then it gives you that kind of like, nostalgic feel. But it's bad because it's just you have fixed camera angles. Like there's nothing you could do about it. You can't really scroll around. You can't really look around and see what's around you. It's kind of like based off of what the developers want you to see at that given time. So it's cool in that aspect, but it's gonna definitely draw people away from the game. But people like me, I enjoy the Resident Evil games for what they are. I'm not like, I don't have the lore that other people enjoy about Resident Evil and stuff like that. I enjoyed it just because the immersion is there. I enjoy the fixed angles, just because it kind of brings you into the game a little bit more, and you're like, oh shit, like if I turn this corner, what's gonna happen? So that is kind of like a good and a bad thing about it. The good thing about this game, though, the atmosphere in this game is amazing. Like, it really draws you in, mostly because of the environments. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, there's, like, light that's reflecting on puddles. There's a forest scene that is really, like, it captures that, dreaded forest vibe, And it just helps build that immersion. So that kind of makes me... It draws you into the game, right? What I don't enjoy about this game so far is, although the immersion is there, what breaks the immersion are the character models, and I feel like if they just put as much work as they did on the environments as they did to the characters, it would have been like nearly perfect game, honestly, as far as like graphics go. Everything is detailed to the max. Like, you can definitely see they put a lot of effort into a lot of the environments, and there's no shade that's not been touched. Like, everything's been like crafted to like as much as they could. But then when it comes to the character models, I don't know, it just has this like really old school, like almost PS2 vibe to it. Where
that's really weird.
I mean, the graphics are there for it, of course. Like, it looks pretty, but the lip syncing isn't quite there yet. And then some of the hair is kind of like weird, like the way the hair kind of like moves. And then a lot of the stuff that she says is kind of off-putting like where she is in this stage in the game. I feel like she shouldn't be saying whatever she says. So to take a step back, like, she narrates most of the game. So as you progress through the game, she's kind of narrating like, what's happening around that time of the game. And not to spoil too much about it, but in the beginning, you start off essentially you're trying to dress up someone that passed away, right? So she lives like above a morgue. So under like on the first floor, she's like, going downstairs trying to dress somebody up. I can't say who it is. And then like things start kind of happening at that point. So the basis of the story is you want to find out what your origins are. And that doesn't really start happening until like maybe 20, 25 minutes into the game, where you get like a phone call and someone specifically says like, I know who you are. I can give you answers that you're looking for, and you need to meet me at this certain place to find those answers. And then that's how like your the story pretty much starts off. So it has its take backs on that sense. Like I wish one the character models were a little bit more on point, and then two, when it comes to the acting and the actual voice acting in the game, it kind of takes me away. But when it comes to the environments, it's dead on, it's spot on. I love it, and the atmosphere, perfect. It's great.
So my question for you is right now, do you still want to play the game?
Yes, I'm like
Okay.
because so the basis of the game sets you off there, like you have to go to this place, but it keeps you engaged. My only drawback with the story in itself is that being in an hour and a half into the game so far, there's obviously more questions than answers, right? And what I don't like is that they don't really fully answer anything quite yet. Again, I'm only an hour and a half in, right? But they don't really give you as much information as you would like. So, for example, you're like, you find out, you see this little girl, right? And she's like a spirit. So you're going between the two worlds, right? And you don't know who she is, but you're trying to find, that guy that called you, right? You're trying to find who that guy was. So in the midst of trying to find who that guy was that called you, you don't know who this little girl is. And it just keeps stacking on questions without giving you answers. So you're constantly questioning, like, oh, well, why am I doing this? Like, who's this? And when am I going to find the answer to this? Like, I wish there were little answers, little, like, crumbs to kind of give you that need to keep going. But as of right now, there's just so many questions that I have that I'm hoping they get answered at some point. Obviously, an hour and a half in, I don't really have that much into the game right now, but it just feels like they're going to leave everything answered at the very end, and I don't know if that's a great way to storytell.
Interesting. All right, so if I wanted to play this game, where can I buy it or play it?
You can buy it on on Xbox stores. You can download it if you want. If you already have Game Pass, you can download it on Game Pass, and I believe you can download it on Steam as well. And real quick, I will say I want to talk a little bit about the parallel universes between the real world and the actual spirit world.
Okay.
They do it because that's like the basis of the game, right? Like that's like their main lore. I think they do a good job with it. So whenever that like initiates in that game, it does like a split screen. So you see the real world, and then you see the natural, like the spiritual world. And they do a good job with both. So essentially you see your character, Marianne, talking to a spirit in the spirit world, right? And then on the left side, you see the real world, and she's not talking to anybody. You're just noticing that she's just kind of talking to herself. I think they did a great job with that because it definitely, you can see what they're going for. I'm not sure if I enjoy the split screen part of it though. And I think they would have done a better job, or it would have been a better experience if they kind of gave you that hint that, okay, we know she's doing this like interwoven aspect of seeing the spirit world and the real world, but I just wish it didn't have to be split all the time. I just wish that you can kind of see one side full screen, and then you just kind of know in the back of your head, like, okay, so in the real world, I know she's not talking to anybody. She is talking to somebody, but you can't see them. It just kind of like, it breaks the immersion, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because you're seeing both of them, and it just kind of takes away from it. And it also takes away when you're actually playing the game, and it does that split screen part. You're constantly looking back on each screen, right? So on one screen on the left, the real world, you're seeing that there's a ladder on your side, but in the spirit world there isn't, and then you have to find a way to get to one side based off of the spirit world, and then like it does that like really well when it comes to puzzles. But you're constantly looking back and forth because you're using those two screens to kind of connect one puzzle together. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, but I just wish they kind of tweaked that a little bit more.
So it sounds like your review, not your review, but your impression of the game is it's kind of mixed. It's mostly good, but there's some things about it that you really don't like and seems dated. And
it's definitely dated, but I think there's more positives than good. I just think that they definitely have great ideas, and I'd be really interested to see if they make a sequel and kind of flesh out those ideas a little bit more.
So would you recommend this game to our listeners to play it?
Again, if you're a horror fan and you really enjoy the old school Resident Evil games, this is right up your alley. Like, this is 100% right up your alley. Especially, it has story. It's a pretty decent story so far from what I can gather. But if you're not into horror, obviously, and if you're not into that kind of tanky controls or the fixed camera angles, I don't think this is the game for you. So it really depends on what your take on what kind of horror game you want, you know.
Well, very well said, Kelvin.
Thank you.
And that leads us into topic 1, medium reviews versus our opinions on reviews. So this is kind of a weird topic in the sense that we have companies rating this game. For example, GameSpot is rating this game a 9 out of 10. We have IGN rating it 9 out of 10. We have Metacritic giving it a 73 out of 100. We have The Guardian giving it a 2 out of 5. And then we have Games Radar giving it a 2.5 out of 5. That's a huge, like...
Yeah, it's mixed, for sure.
It's super mixed. Like, this game's either really good or it's really bad.
There's like no in between besides Metacritic.
So, what is this game? Is this game a 9 or is it a 2?
Again, I think what it comes down to is what I talked about a little bit earlier. The 9s out of 10s were probably guys that enjoy or gals that enjoyed the horror games back in the 90s, right? The people that scored it 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5 are those that probably never got into the old school Resident Evil games. It just really depends on your play style, essentially, right?
So, do you think that's fair to the game itself that it gets it? Because someone that sees that, they see the 2 out of 5, right? They're like, "Oh, I got a 2 out of 5. I'm not playing that,"
right.
And it didn't even give it a chance. When actually, apparently, it has 9 potential.
Right.
So, do you think that that's fair? That the way that they're so these reviews are so sporadic.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think it's fair only because, again, at the end of the day, these are opinions, right? Everyone has.
It's all subjective.
It's all subjective. Now, what I would advise for those people that do kind of consider reading or looking at scores for their for their game intake, if you're kind of undecisive of what you want, read the review, right? I mean, if you see that GameSpot has a 9 out of 10, and then you see Metacritic or The Guardian, Games Radar, they have a 2 out of 5, read both of those articles and see what gravitates towards you. GameSpot might like the fact that, it has that tanky control and it has the fixed camera angles, and if that's something that you like, if that you're into, all right, cool, this is probably up my alley. This is probably, I'm more leaning towards the 9 out of 10 side, as opposed to Games Radar. They didn't like the controls. They didn't like the camera angles. This might not be for me. So I think it's good though.
So, on that same subject, let's take a game like God of War.
Ooh, you want to go there with God of War? Because my take about it.
So God of War,
yeah,
for the most part, and this could be for any like great game like God of War, Last of Us 2.
Yeah,
across the board, it got great reviews. Like
right.
Most places gave it 9s, 10s, 8s, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But no one really gives it a 2. What if I liked God of War 3? Like, I liked the play style of God of War 3, and I didn't like how linear God of War, the original, or the new God of War remake was. I might rate that lower because I don't like how linear it is.
Right.
So that's where that kind of comes in, where I'm confused. Like maybe like the medium is definitely not God of War.
No.
Does it deserve a 9? I don't know. If most people trying to play this game
I don't.
are not, like, if you have a select audience that are gonna play this game and they're not gonna enjoy it, is it a good game? Does it deserve that 9?
I mean, would I give it a 9? Probably not. I'd probably right now, the hour and a half that I played, I'd probably give it like an 8, a solid 8. But it's hard to say because again, their opinions. There's something that someone reviewed this game, played it for completed or not, and hopefully completed if they're like reviewing this game fully, and they decided that this game was great. They enjoyed it themselves, and they wanted to list all the good things and bad things that this game had to offer. I think a lot of gamers they decide based off solely on the score, and I mean I do that all the time, right? Like you probably do the same thing where you look at the review, oh, it's an 8, cool, I might get it, it looks good, like this is for me. But if you sit down and actually read them, and then a lot of them actually put a lot of effort into these review scores. If you actually sit down and read them, you'll really dissect exactly what makes this game for you or not. Otherwise, you're just kind of basing it off numbers that are really, what do they really mean? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of a review score? Is really nothing more than just a basis of a base of numbers that kind of help the website kind of gain attention. You know what I mean?
For sure. Me personally, for something to get like a 9 or 10, you could take anybody and they play that game, you're like, this game is amazing.
Right. It has to be like in my standards, a 9 has to be nearly perfect, right? I mean, even a 10 out of 10 isn't perfect. That doesn't mean that this game is flawless. That just means that it is close to perfect as possible.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
To get a 10, like I feel like I have to take someone who doesn't really like play games at all, and like I see for now, take my dad or something or whoever, and I'm like, sit down, play this game.
Yeah.
And if they're like, wow, that was crazy.
Yeah.
And they're not a gamer, like they don't play anything, like they don't do that stuff.
Right.
And they're able to say like, I enjoyed that so much, like that was, that to me is a 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar story to that. I did. So me and Alyris, I beat The Last of Us, right? I beat The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us 1. But I enjoyed that story so much, especially the first one.
Me too.
I told Alyris, I'm like, listen, like, I don't want you to play this game because she's not a gamer whatsoever, but I want you to see the story. So we sat down, we watched all the cutscenes, and she enjoyed the game. Like, she really... she was invested in the characters, she was invested in the story. Same thing with 2, she enjoyed the story, and that just goes to show you, one, how storytelling has changed in games, but that's a whole different topic, and 2, there's games out there that can gravitate players or anybody, people in general that don't play games, and that's how you know that this game like deserves whatever score it got.
Yeah, and that actually leads us in topic number 2. Developers on release dates, delays, and announcements. So, developers we'll give an example of Cyberpunk. That seems to always be a fun topic.
Yeah.
They say, the game's coming out this time. Oh, no, it's not coming out now. We got still working on stuff. Delayed again. Game finally comes out.
Yep.
Got to release a big ass patch right day one, and then the game doesn't freaking even work for consoles. Like, it's horrible. So it's like, how do developers stop that? How do we stop that trend of like, it's okay to ship out a broken game?
I think
how should they say like, hey, we don't know when this is coming out, but we're working on it, and then when we figure it out, like,
Yeah.
When it's almost ready, then we'll announce it.
There's a fine line for developers to talk to their audience, right? But you also have to consider that they're a company and they need to make money at a certain point, right? They need to please their shareholders. They need to make sure that the investors are happy as well, right? Otherwise, whatever they're doing, just it won't mean anything at that point. So there's a fine line between making your consumers happy and making your shareholders happy as well. It's hard because I think for me the best way to ship a game in an ideal world, I think Bethesda did probably one of the best actions of releasing a game with Fallout 4, because if you remember, they announced that game, I don't remember the year, but they announced that game at E3, and then 6 months later that game came out. Like, it was probably the best launch of a game, in my opinion, that ever came out, because one, you didn't have to wait for that game, because that game was announced at E3, right? And then 6 months later that game came out. Buggy as fuck, right? But
That just Fallout.
But that's a Fallout game, right? That's a Bethesda game in general. You can't really. You hold them to that standard, of course, but at the same time, it's a first-person open world game. There's a lot that goes into that. So it's hard. So my ideal take on that would be, shipping a game 6 months. Like announce it 6 months prior and then ship it. And I think developers have a hard time kind of giving consumers updates, for example, mostly because, I'm going to be honest, consumers have a lot of shit to talk about, especially online. You announce a game in 2020 and, you don't give an update for like 6 months and everyone's just like bashing you, when in reality you're working hard in that game. And you want to, hold your cards close to you. You don't want to announce anything too early because you don't know what the state of that game is going to look like 4 or 5 months from now. You know what I mean? So
yeah, but it could be again with that shareholder thing, like you said.
Right.
They want to start building up hype for a game.
Right.
Start selling merchandise, that kind of stuff, like limited editions.
Right, and that's why they announce games, a year, 2 years early, to kind of generate that hype. And then shit happens in development all the time, right? So then something messes up, there's a huge bug, a huge game breaking bug, they have to delay the game, and then all the consumers, all the gamers are there's a huge backlash, there's a fucking backfire, and everyone's pissed off. It doesn't make you look good, it doesn't make the consumers or not the consumers, the shareholders look good. Like, it just kind of ruins a lot of the ladder that kind of takes place when that happens.
Do you think now in this digital age we hold games to a higher standard than we did back in the day when patches weren't a thing, when updates weren't a thing? Even back on PS2,
mm-hmm.
right? I think it's the last time it was like that. You got the game, you played the game, no patch, and that was it.
Right. That was the simpler days, right? Because
that was a good days,
dude.
Man.
That was the best. Like you didn't even think about that, right? You got the game, and you're just like, this is it. This is the fucking game, and I don't nothing can change that, right? So you play it for what it is, and you enjoy it for what it is. You actually enjoyed the bugs sometimes because they were quirky and stupid, and it would
think of like Pokemon back in the day, like Pokemon Red and Blue, missing no. Like the missing no bug,
or the infinity rare candies and shit. Like that was the best shit. Like I would get all. I think that was a bug, right? You consider
that? That was, you got it through missing no. That's how you were able to generate unlimited items, was through that missing no glitch. But that stuff is it was messed up,
right?
But it was fun. It created memories, and it's talked about in the community. Whereas now, mm-hmm. a bug is viewed as game breaking. This is awful.
This is not finished, or this is hindering my experience. And that's what developers have to deal with a lot of the times. Again, you have to hold them to that standard though, right? Because now developers are kind of on the flip side. Some developers are like, okay, well, we're not quite done yet. You know who I'm talking about. And then all of a sudden they just release the game, and oh shit, like there's a day one patch, but it doesn't fix all the games, all the bugs. So it's like you're essentially just releasing a half-ass product, And I don't think that's how it was back in the day. Back in the day, they did take their time and they did put in the effort to finish their game. But things fall through the cracks, and there's a little bug here and there. Now a lot of developers are kind of leaning towards that day one patch, and that shouldn't be the case either. So it's kind of like I don't know. It's one of those things where, is it ever going to change?
No, it's here to stay. There's always going to be updates. I mean, everything gets an update now, right?
Yeah.
Cars are going to get up. Cars have updates.
Cars have updates. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, everything has updates now, and it's just part of life. That's just how it is with our technology.
Yep.
I will say what I probably missed the most out of back in the day is when you would open a new case for a game, PS2, whatever, and you'd get a thick ass booklet. The book.
Now, if I see a book, I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, why is this here?
No, they don't even give you a book. They give you like a sheet of paper. It's like, why did you even bother?
And then now it's like, in the actual game itself, but I don't ever look at because it's not as satisfying, right? But the book, like, I can't remember what game had a thick ass book, but I don't know. I'm just gonna throw a game out there like Metal Gear Solid, for example. When if they had like a thick ass book, I'd be all up on that. I'll be like looking at the pictures and looking at like all.
Yeah, like there was some like cool artwork in that stuff sometimes. There's actually stuff that went into that versus now it's just like open up a menu in your game, and so so I guess we'll end that topic there. That we do definitely hold them up to a higher standard now compared to we used to, because games are just that much bigger.
So let me ask you this before we change topics.
Yeah.
So obviously with the whole cyberpunk issue, right? Like would you agree that set a standard now for developers moving forward, that this should not happen again? Like moving forward, do you think developers are going to reevaluate their planning and their launch schedules to kind of not have that happen to them again, or to them in general?
So I think that it's not going to be tolerated anymore by the public,
I agree,
by the consumer. I think that if there's a bad game that gets released and you were like, this game's going to be crazy, buy our game, and you're promising like it's going to be like this futuristic, like there's nothing like it that ever came out, and it's not that.
Yeah.
They're gonna say something, especially now with social media.
I mean,
and all.
This was the perfect storm in a sense, if you think about it. Like, I mean, it's terrible that this happened to all those people that actually worked hard on this game, but to have such a huge game, the biggest game of 2020, if you can say that, right? To just have it fail in that, how bad it failed in that sense, like this had to have happened to make any change in like day one launch patches, right? Because if this happened to a game like an indie game, right, I don't think anyone would really blink an eye, right?
Exactly, because they're not advertised as heavily as like that game was,
right? But but because this is Cyberpunk, this had everyone's attention, and everyone, for the most part, thought, there's no way this game can fail. And it fucking failed. Numbers wise, it didn't fail, but game wise, like actual experience wise, actual review wise, it failed. And I can't imagine it not changing or making a ripple effect in the future because of what happened to them. So hopefully this is a positive thing in the end, and it shows developers like, listen, we can't just throw shit out there because we don't want to be cyberpunked.
Hey, I like that pun there.
So we're gonna rethink our planning a little bit and just kind of give it the attention and the love that it needs.
Definitely not going to be the last time it happens. It's going to happen again to somebody, to some developer. But we'll see. We'll see in the future.
Yeah.
Topic 3. GameStop stock.
Boy, okay.
Or Game Stunks.
Game stunks.
Good stunks. So basically, what was happening with GameStop, if you're not aware, is there was this huge Reddit movement basically trying to almost like overthrow Wall Street.
Yep.
And just buying like some stock that is just doing poorly and basically making...
These were Reddit users, by the way, that, you know, they're fairly... They have money in general already. So they were just kind of throwing money at GameStop, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. They're throwing money at GameStop, and then basically they got everyone like, yo, everyone, let's just make GameStop the freaking stock to buy.
Yep.
Let's do it. And that just like completely turned the stock market over. You know, like the big firms were like freaking out and like we need to buy this back.
Yep.
You know, like how do we do this? And it's crazy because I don't know if you know Robinhood.
Yes.
They stop people from purchasing
Yes.
the stock.
Yes.
And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
It's
as a way to control
people from purchasing more stock from GameStop. And not just GameStop, from like BlackBerry, which, first of all, who the fuck has a BlackBerry? Like,
I actually
what?
have one. I have one right now.
No, you don't.
Just kidding. I don't
I was about to say, I was like, wait, no. I would understand if Jess had one. I would be like, all right, that makes sense. But no. Also AMC too. Like, they're trying to, like, real hard trying to buy AMC stocks. I found that really interesting because, one, I'm not a stocks person at all. But for this to actually happen, like, this is probably the most hype I've ever been in. Like,
for stocks,
for sure, right? So,
well, the fact that there's just memes in general about it, you know, that like it's just getting into pop culture now, tells you that this is a big deal.
Yeah. So a little bit on Robinhood though. What a shitty move, right? Like,
what a shitty name for what they did.
Robinhood. You're essentially, what your name stands for is to take from the rich and give to the poor. Is that not what Robinhood did? Right?
That's what that
stands
what the
for.
intent was, but
so
they didn't do that.
They said,
"Oh, the poor is buying this stuff."
Yeah,
stop them.
Right,
stop them.
It baffles me. Like, so you essentially just stop, or you close you position close, I guess is what they call it, or whatever what the proper term is. You can't. So the people that already have the stocks from GameStop, BlackBerry, AMC, they can't do anything with their stocks besides close their stocks. They can't sell it. They can't trade it in. They can't do anything with it, which is terrible. It's like, this is not what One America stands for, right? Like, this is not what your company stands for, and it just goes to show you, like, this is all, like,
it's just the rich trying to
to get richer,
the wealthy
exactly,
and control the the average person. That's exactly what it is, and that's not America. It's not what we stand for. It's a free market. You know, like capitalism. You know, it has its obviously its down things, but like, that's the great thing about America, is like everyone has a chance to succeed.
Right.
The wealthy is now you're just trying to make the wealthy succeed, and that's not right.
And then again, that's not what your company stands for. Your company should have stood for, if I recall, giving us poor people, in a sense, a chance to have that opportunity, right? To be able to be on the same page or on the same level as the, like, Wall Street, kind of people up there. So I just don't think what they did was a really smart idea, and they're paying for it right now, right? I mean,
they're gonna lose a lot of people.
Yeah, they've lost a lot of people. Their reviews,
and go elsewhere.
Their reviews are going way down, as far as, like, they're downloading. When you download their app, it's like 1.0 now, as opposed to like a 5-star rating or whatever. So it's definitely hurt them, and hopefully, I don't know, they can grow some sense into like not doing this again, or I don't know if they can come back from this. I have no idea.
So here's my thing that I don't really understand, and again, I'm not big into stocks either, but I don't like the fact that like GameStop's definitely benefiting from this, right? But they're not a great company.
For sure, yeah.
You know, like they almost like they don't deserve this for this stuff to happen to them,
right?
Because they don't treat their employee for what I know. I've just heard stories.
Yeah, just from things.
I'm pretty sure they don't treat their employees well,
right?
You know, so and they had like major layoffs. So like they're kind of like the executives are kind of benefiting from this happening.
Yeah,
which is like same thing with like at AMC. I don't know if AMC. I mean, I know they're hurting because obviously the pandemic and stuff like that. But I don't know if I agree with that either. It's just like maybe So
it's funny because there was a GameStop near my house, right? And so a couple days ago, I went to.
Didn't you work at a GameStop?
No.
I thought you did.
I would have loved to, but I was busy.
Would you have though? Would you have loved to work at a GameStop?
Very true. That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the thought of it was more appealing.
Yeah.
So I went to my eye doctor, right? And for some reason, I didn't notice that GameStop was no longer there. Like they had a GameStop right next to my eye doctor. And would you believe that in place of the GameStop that was there, they had a fucking gaming lounge? And I sent you a video.
You sent me a picture of that. That's really cool.
It is fucking tits, dude. Like it is. It looks cool, and I forget what was the name of it. I told you the name of it. What was it?
I don't remember. It's probably like the Gamer Lounge or something like that.
It was like, fuck it. It's like right there. I don't remember. I'll probably come back. But I was like, I had my appointment, right? It was like 6:00 for my appointment, and I'm like, I'm not going yet. I gotta go in here first because this is fucking dope. So I walk in there, and there's just like computers, like PCs lined up, like just PC galore. Like it's just fucking amazing. Obviously, pandemic, not the place to be at the moment, right? But
when it's over,
dude, I'm like, if they're still fucking there, because there was 2 people that were there fucking playing, but it looked dope as fuck. It was like this red, blue aesthetic color scheme that they had going on, and everything just looked just crazy. I'm hyped. I want to go there, but I'm not fucking risking it right now.
Oh, obviously, yeah. And then that's really cool because like say like you're with a bunch of buddies and you're looking for stuff to do.
Yeah.
You know, you could be like, instead of like, let's go to the bar, like you can go and do like a LAN party there, basically.
Yeah, and they have
like let's all five.
They have mostly like battle royale games that you can play. So obviously, like your COD, you could play Fortnite, whatever whatever you.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, say you're just like all 4 of your boys just in a row. It's like, hey, let's all like just get together and play around. Like, we don't have to each bring like our own individual thing.
Right.
Like, and you're still like in person, which is. I really wish there was more of that.
Yeah, and I'm hoping
especially in the States,
Yeah, I'm hoping this place does a good job, and I'll probably check it out. Hopefully later down the road when this pandemic is over.
Do you remember when we were in Montreal? We were wandering the streets, slightly intoxicated, I think, and we found that gamer like lounge / bar. Where we played Super Smash Brothers.
Oh yeah. That was cool. That was a gem. That was a little gem in the corner there. That was great. I was happy as fuck.
Oh yeah, you were. And it's cool. They had like gamer themed like drinks.
Yeah.
And they had just like any game you could think of.
Yep.
And it was just like it was nice to see like gamers just being
just kind of hanging out and not like it was just cool.
No one judging them.
And we got our ass beat on Smash. That was cool. That was like I was really certain I would at least kind of be somewhat of a competitor, and no, I got my ass beat. So there's that.
All I know is that hopefully that there's more after this pandemic is over. Hopefully there's more stuff like that pops open because I think people really, people like that stuff, and not necessarily like arcade style. Like how like there's some of them where it's like a barcade where it's like all the arcade games and stuff. Like we need more current things that
Yeah, for sure.
we could play current games and
Yeah, there were two bars that we saw back in Montreal. One was more old school, right?
Which is more common,
more common. Yeah, the other one was cool because it had like more recent games, and it had Super Smash Brothers, it had Melee, it had the new one as well. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I just remember though back on the GameStop stock.
Yeah.
say that really fast. I remember sitting in my living room, and I remember I was looking at the GameStop stock, and it was like $5-10. I think it was. And
how many stocks can a GameStop stock in the stock? It's like no.
I'm just like, I should buy this. And for a reason, I was like, no, it's GameStop. I'm not buying that. Yeah. I'm just kicking myself in the face.
You would have been filthy right now. You would have been fucking filthy. Look at you. Now you're poor. You're a poor little bitch. Look at you.
I'm poor. So fucking just kicking myself in the face.
Yep.
So dumb.
I've never really got into the stock market, so I never even thought of doing it. But it would have been a great. Imagine you have no idea what the stock market is. You're just like, oh, I think this is cool. Like GameStop is $4. Let me buy that. Let me buy like fucking 50 stocks of it or whatever. Like,
but the problem is now after this happens, you're like, what do I do with it?
Well, that's the thing, though.
You're not trained. You don't know. You don't have any knowledge of this because you're a noob.
But
so you're just like,
because of how this whole thing is happening right now, you've had like 3 or 4 days to think about it. Like the market, the stock market for GameStop was on the rise for like a couple days. So you could have opted out. You could have sold your shit like yesterday, the day before, and you would have been golden. If you're waiting till now to do it, then you're losing out. But you could have But
that's a point. That's a point of like screwing over Wall Street is to keep holding on to it.
Sure,
right?
sure. But I'm saying for an average person, like if you
just to make a quick gain.
Yeah, if you invested stock in that like a while back, and you are still waiting for it to like increase or whatever, like I don't know, that's a fucking gamble and a half. Like if I were you, I would fucking sell that shit quick and have whatever you got from it now.
Just to reiterate, as far as like what was the pricing, how much the stock was going for, on the 25th it was $76. The 26th, $145, so doubled. And then
imagine if you just put $10.
Yesterday, $347 a share ended on. So I mean, I don't know about today. I haven't really checked it. I know I think at the beginning of today it was like 240 something.
Not
it
much,
went down.
It's going down, yeah.
But yeah, so it was. You put $5 in there and you made $347. Mm-hmm. Pretty good return on that.
Oh yeah.
Topic 4. Tesla's new Model S. But this is not just like any new update. Apparently, you can play The Witcher 3 in your Tesla.
What a time to be alive.
Yo, I'm just saying, if I'm going on a road trip and I got my autopilot on,
yeah,
and I'm able to play video games in my freaking Tesla.
How much would you use this though? Let's be honest though. Like, you're gonna be the main driver.
I don't think it's for the main driver. I think it's like if you have kids in the back or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. So this topic is, when I read this, I was like, it's cool. It's a cool idea, and mind you, Tesla has been doing this for several years now, right? I remember they were playing Cuphead like a couple years back, right? But The Witcher, really? Like, this is like a fucking 200-hour game. What the like? Why? I understand if it's like a little beat bop game, like a indie game or something like that. But The Witcher 3, that's just like swinging your dick for no reason.
Yo, I'm not even gonna leave my car.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna stay in my car and just like play Witcher 3. Like,
that's wild. But like, what a time to be alive, though. Like, that's insane. That's impressive.
I mean, yeah. It just, like I said, it's just how is that thing with the driver? Like, obviously the driver can't just sit there and play Witcher 3 because they got to pay attention to to the thing. I don't know how sophisticated the self-driving is right now, but
So what are
I would be reluctant.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, I'll go into some specs about the new Tesla Model S. Basically, the outside is a little bit of redesign, nothing too crazy from what I saw. It's got a whole new interior. I know the interior was kind of like a big thing that people complained about, as far as like it was super plain.
Yep.
It is $80,000 for the base model.
Okay.
With a 412 mile range. $119,000, you get the more powerful Plaid powertrain, which gives you only 390 mile range, but you can go 0 to 60 in sub 2 seconds. So it's like
It's pretty fast.
I lose the range, but I gain that much more horsepower.
Yeah.
And then if you got the big bucks, you're balling. $140,000 gets you the Plaid powertrain that has that 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds.
Yep.
And you get 520 miles range. So just alone, I mean, yeah, it's not a normal car for everyone, but
Right.
that's crazy. Like 520 miles range.
Yeah. That's
and
excessive,
you're like,
but if you have the money to throw, then why not, right?
yeah. So I'll ask you this: you got 140,000, you can get any car. You getting that Tesla?
Oh yeah.
Model S?
Yeah, I think my goal in life, one of my goals in life, is to own a
There we
Tesla at some point. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it'd be rad to own a Tesla. But is that gonna happen? Who the fuck knows? Probably not. Maybe the base model of like a 10-year-old Tesla, sure.
Hey man, there's some used ones and
But
their
but
powertrains.
there's some that aren't like crazy expensive. Like it's affordable for the middle class.
Yeah,
average person.
I think they're gonna just get less expensive just because
Yeah.
eventually they're gonna have competition with all the other manufacturers catching up to electric cars.
Right.
So just a matter of time.
Yeah.
But
What about you? What do
definitely
you feel about, like, would you buy one, or would you buy this specific one, like the base model or the $80,000 one?
I think I would if I had the money. I don't know if I'd buy. If I had $80,000 right now, it's hard to spend $80,000 just on a car.
I guarantee you would not use like the gaming feature to it, though. Sure, you're gonna play Witcher.
I would definitely play the gaming feature. At least try it. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, but this is like if this is a feature in your car.
So here's the thing. I'll bring this up to you. You got to charge your car. You don't. It's not a quick fill up in gas. Like, say you're doing a road trip somewhere, and you gotta wait in your car for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to charge your battery so you can go to the next destination. Guess what I'm doing for the next half an hour? Booting up Witcher 3.
I see what you're
The
saying.
half an hour's gonna go by like that.
I see what you're doing.
So,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You got me. Okay.
Last topic, we're gonna wrap it up here. Is gonna be Bose frames or Bose sunglasses. So Bose came out with sunglasses that play music.
Okay. So is this?
Is it?
Doesn't Amazon do this already?
They have an Echo,
Ah, okay.
but see the thing is that they're called Echo frames.
Okay.
The Echo frames are actually like smart frames where like you can control Alexa via the frames. These Bose frames are just for music, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
Have you tried these at all?
No, I don't even know how they look like.
So they're kind of ugly. They're very thick because they have to put all the technology and the speakers in there.
Yep.
I tried them, and it was really weird.
You try them like at Best Buy or something?
I tried them at the store, and I was like, "This is stupid. This is dumb." I put them on. I'm like, "This is kind of cool."
Oh, really? It changed you that quick, huh? Okay.
It's cool because like the music's not in your ears. It's just like it's around your head. Like I can't explain it. It's just like it uses like some kind of like I don't even know.
Again, what a time to be alive.
So that's why I was just like, I kind of like that because
Yeah.
you can still have a conversation with somebody.
Right.
Like I could still talk to the person I'm talking to, but I'm listening to music.
Yep.
The best way I can put it is like, when you're in a movie and there's music playing in the background. It's like a soundtrack to your life. Like that's how I feel like it is. Yeah. I think they're like
Kid Cudi over here.
Yeah, like 200, 250 plus.
Yeah,
like
yep.
Cool. Yes. Necessary? No.
Okay.
Whatsoever. So
I mean, when do you see us getting to a point where we have frames that show GPS or show our text messages? I think that's when I'll invest in one of these bad boys.
This is a tough one because Google tried that with.
Didn't France
Google
try
Glass.
that? Didn't France?
Our buddy, yeah, he had that, and I think he had to pay X amount of money to get into the beta or whatever.
Yeah, I remember that.
It just never took off.
Mm-hmm.
They just, I don't know what it was. Maybe the technology just wasn't there at the time.
Yeah.
If there's a company that's gonna make it mainstream and make this work and people adopting it, it's gonna be probably Apple.
Yeah, for sure.
It's if they're gonna, but I don't even know if they plan to do it or not. But yeah, we'll see what the future looks like. I would definitely like to have some kind of cool futuristic frames. I think that'd be awesome.
We shall see.
Well, folks, that's all for today's episode of Project Tech Gaming. New episodes of Project Tech Gaming are available every Thursday on major podcast services. We also post our videos of our podcast on YouTube at Project Tech Gaming as well. If you enjoyed the podcast, send us a sub. As always, great convo, Kelv.
Thank you.
And I'll see you next. Yep, I'll see you next week. And adios, everyone.